In recent weeks, the unfolding military confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran has escalated into a significant geopolitical crisis, marking the most intense clash in the Middle East in decades. This conflict, deeply rooted in a complex web of historical tensions, now threatens to redraw the lines of global power and influence. As we delve into the intricacies of this situation, it is crucial to understand the broad context and far reaching implications that these events could have on international stability and security. The recent intensification of hostilities, highlighted by joint US and Israeli airstrikes against Iranian targets, marks a dramatic turning point. This escalation was precipitated by preemptive military actions that have resulted in the deaths of key Iranian leaders. The Pentagon's announcement to extend strikes deeper into Iranian territory underscores a commitment to a strategy aimed at significantly diminishing Iran's military capabilities. The footage released of a US submarine torpedoing an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean, resulting in substantial loss of life, starkly illustrates the seriousness of this conflict. To date, over 20 Iranian ships have reportedly been struck or sunk, and the pace of these operations seems only to be accelerating. The origins of this conflict are deeply rooted in history, dating back to the 1950s, with the US-backed coup in Iran and the subsequent 1979 Islamic Revolution that fundamentally altered the geopolitical landscape of the region. Decades of sanctions over Iran's nuclear ambitions have further strained relations, with Israel frequently accusing Iran of using its nuclear program as a facade for developing weapons. The animosity is mutual, as Iran has consistently refused to recognize Israel's existence and has supported proxies like Hezbollah in Lebanon, which are now directly involved in the conflict as Israeli forces target these groups. The current military operations not only raise the specter of a broader regional war, but also pose significant challenges to global economic stability. The Strait of Hormuz, through which approximately 20% of the world's oil flows, has become a focal point, with Iran threatening maritime traffic. This key choke point's disruption has already led to spikes in oil and gas prices, reverberating through global markets and foreshadowing possible energy crises. The closure of commercial airspace over vital corridors compounds this situation, stranding travelers and necessitating emergency evacuation plans by the US. The potential deployment of Kurdish forces, backed by the US and Israel, on the ground introduces yet another layer of complexity. This move could shift the conflict from air and naval engagements to a terrestrial front along Iran's northern border, with the risk of igniting ethnic tensions within the region. Such developments could have far-reaching consequences, potentially destabilizing neighboring countries like Turkey and further complicating international diplomacy. Domestically, the U.S. administration faces increasing scrutiny over its actions. The lack of clear congressional approval for these military escalations raises questions about the legal and ethical frameworks guiding such decisions. At the same time, Iran, despite significant military setbacks, remains defiant. The potential for Tehran to rally domestic support through asymmetric warfare tactics or further engagement with regional proxies cannot be discounted. Internationally, the involvement of nations such as the UK adds a layer of complexity to the dynamics of this conflict. While the formation of a coalition signals a unified front, it also raises the risk of miscalculation, potentially drawing in additional powers like Russia. The shifting alliances and emerging tensions could fundamentally reshape global security arrangements, with long-term implications that extend beyond the immediate conflict. As we assess the situation, it is clear that the stakes are exceptionally high. The conflict not only threatens regional stability, but also poses significant risks to global economic and security frameworks. The potential for a prolonged closure of the Strait of Hormuz to trigger an energy crisis, coupled with the prospect of recession in energy-dependent nations like China, underscores the interconnected nature of these events. Moreover, the arming of Kurdish fighters, while a tactical move, carries the risk of igniting new conflicts within and around Iran's borders, complicating the geopolitical landscape further. In conclusion, the escalation between the United States, Israel, and Iran is not merely a regional issue, but a global one, with economic, political, and security ramifications that could reverberate for years to come. As the situation continues to develop, it is imperative for all parties involved to carefully consider the potential consequences of their actions, striving to avoid further escalation while seeking avenues for diplomatic resolution. The challenge remains formidable, balancing strategic interests with the urgent need for peace and stability in a region that has long been a crucible of international conflict. As tensions persist, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution that averts further suffering and paves the way for a more stable future.